All right, let's jump right in. So, you've made the decision to protect your cloud workloads with Azure Firewall, which is a fantastic choice. But right away, you're hit with a big question. Do you go with basic, standard, or premium? In this explainer, we're going to break down all three of these tiers to help you figure out which one is the perfect fit for what you're trying to do.
A great way to think about this is in terms of physical security. Are you just trying to secure a small office with a simple deadbolt? Or do you have a whole corporate building that needs a much more sophisticated keycard system? Or are you protecting a bank that requires a full-on high-security vault? Each one provides a totally different level of security, and that's exactly the kind of choice you're making here for your cloud environment.
Now, before we get into what makes them different, let's just quickly get on the same page about what Azure Firewall even is. At its heart, it's a managed cloud-native security service. And managed is the key word there. It means it's built specifically for Azure, and Microsoft is handling all the heavy lifting, the infrastructure, the availability, all that stuff for you. Its whole job is to be an intelligent guard for everything running inside your virtual networks.
Now, here's what's really cool. Before we even talk about tiers and differences, it's so important to understand the powerful foundation that all three of these versions are built on. No matter which one you pick, you get a really robust set of core features right out of the box.
So every single tier comes with high availability baked right in. You don't need to mess with extra load balancers. They all support deploying across multiple availability zones, which gives you incredible resilience. You get a proper stateful firewall, which means it understands the full conversation of network traffic, not just bits and pieces, plus all the essential network address translation, central management, and deep logging with Azure Monitor. And, maybe most importantly, all three meet those critical compliance standards like PCI, SOC, and ISO. So you're starting from a very, very solid base. All right, let's take a look at our first option, the deadbolt. Azure Firewall Basic is designed from the ground up for small and medium-sized businesses. The whole idea here is to give you that essential foundational protection, but at a much more affordable price.
The first thing to think about with Basic is really scale. It's recommended for environments pushing around 250 megabits per second of traffic. This number is your first big clue. It helps you figure out if the amount of traffic you have even fits within what this SKU is designed for. So what kind of protection are you actually getting? Well, Basic lets you filter outbound traffic to specific domain names. It lets you use these super handy tags to allow traffic to Microsoft services. And of course, it handles all your network translation needs. But I really want you to focus on that very last point, threat intelligence, with alerts only sitting right there next to it. That's a big deal.
This quote really gets to the heart of the matter. When the Basic firewall uses its threat intelligence, it can spot traffic coming from known bad places on the internet. And when it sees that traffic, its job is to alert you. It essentially raises a little red flag and says, hey, you should probably look at this.
And this, right here, is the most crucial thing to understand about this tier. The Basic SKU is like a security guard who's watching the cameras. They can see a bad guy trying to get in, and they can call you to tell you about it, but they can't actually step in and block the door. It tells you there's a threat, it just doesn't automatically stop it for you.
Okay, so now let's move on to our keycard system Azure Firewall Standard. This is where we make a pretty significant jump from just the essentials to a true enterprise-grade security setup, with a lot more power and way smarter filtering. And the very first thing you'll notice is just the massive leap in performance. We're going from 250 megabits all the way up to 30 gigabits per second. This thing can auto-scale to handle the kind of high-volume, unpredictable traffic you'd expect to see in a much larger company. With all that extra horsepower comes a ton of new features. You get everything from Basic, plus you get advanced DNS controls. You can create rules based on web categories. But by far, the most important upgrade is how it handles threat intelligence. That's right, with Standard, threat intelligence gets a major upgrade to alert and deny. So your security guard doesn't just call you anymore. Now, when they see a known threat coming from that Microsoft Threat Intelligence feed, they actively step in and block that traffic right there. It never even gets close to your workloads. This is that huge shift from just being aware of threats to actively preventing them.
And that brings us to the bank vault. Tier 3 is Azure Firewall Premium. This is the absolute top of the line. It's engineered for organizations that have super sensitive and highly regulated stuff. Think payment processing, think healthcare, where you just have to have the highest level of threat protection possible. It's non-negotiable. And just as you'd expect, the performance scales up again to a massive 100 gigabits per second. This is built to secure the most demanding, high-traffic environments you can run on Azure. But the real magic of Premium isn't just about the speed, it's about the depth of what it can see.
Think about it. So much of the traffic on the internet today is encrypted with HTTPS. Now, that's great for privacy, but it also creates the perfect hiding place for attackers to sneak malware and other nasty stuff right past a traditional firewall. Premium's superpower is a feature called TLS inspection, which lets it peek inside that encrypted traffic and find the threats that would otherwise be completely invisible.
So, how does this work? It's basically a three-step process. First, the firewall intercepts the traffic. Second, it decrypts it so it can inspect the contents for anything malicious. And third, if everything looks clean, it re-encrypts the traffic and sends it on its way. It's a really sophisticated process that closes a huge security gap.
Premium also comes with a full-blown intrusion detection and prevention system, or IDPS. Now that sounds really technical, but just think of it as a constantly updated encyclopedia of every known cyber attack. With over 67,000 rules that are updated daily, it can spot these specific fingerprints of known attacks, things like malware, phishing, and it can just block them instantly. And finally, this comparison just shows so clearly the deeper level of control you get. Standard can see the main domain, like google.com, and it might categorize that as a search engine. But Premium can look at the entire URL. It sees you're going to google.com/news and can specifically categorize that as news. That gives you so much more granular control over your policies.
Okay, wow, that was a lot to go through. So how do we pull this all together and actually make the right choice? Let's just simplify everything with a final decision framework. Here it is, all side by side. It's pretty straightforward. If you're a small or medium business and you need essential, affordable protection, you start with basic. If you're a larger enterprise and you need that robust filtering from the network all the way up to the application layer, then that alert and deny feature makes standard the clear winner. And if you're in a highly regulated industry where you absolutely must inspect encrypted traffic, then Premium with its TLS inspection and IDPS is what you need. End of story. So at the end of the day, it's not really about which firewall is best, but which one is the best fit for you. The right choice always comes from having a really clear understanding of your own organization's security needs, your traffic patterns, and any compliance rules you have to follow. Look, choosing the right firewall is an absolutely critical piece of your security puzzle, but it's still just one piece. So the question I want to leave you with is this. Now that you can pick the right tool for the job, how are you going to integrate it into a bigger security strategy that's ready for whatever new threats are coming next?